okay, you want to leave France to live in Israel, it's your right. But we have to defeat our enemies wherever they are. And if we don't fight them back here in Europe, they will be stronger there. It's a global threat and a global fight, and we have to be united.
Welcome to What Came After. I'm your host, Manya Marcus. On What Came After, we'll take a look at the many ways that people's lives changed on and after the brutal massacre in Israel on October 7th, 2023. We'll be speaking with people in Israel and around the world about how the devastating attack by Hamas has shifted, shaped, and changed them. To learn more about our podcast, please visit us at whatcameafter.com. Thank you so much for having me. Please introduce yourself and tell us where we are. We would love to know more about you.
Okay, so welcome in Paris.
Thank you.
I'm very happy to meet you. And my name is Arie Bensemhoun. I am the CEO of Elnet in France, and we are here in Paris in my office near the National Assembly. And our mission as Elnet is to strengthen relation between European countries and Israel, dealing with all the French relation with Israel. And also I do my part with my colleague in Europe to also strengthen the way we are working at the European level to emphasize our values here in Europe and to try to make Europe better in the relation with Israel, and not just with Israel, but also with the Middle East.
You are yourself from Morocco, is that correct?
Yes, I was born in Morocco 62 years ago, long time. And my parents were French in Morocco. So they had to leave very early in the year 62, just after the decolonization of Algeria by France. So as we were French, we were quite obliged to leave Morocco or to live under special rules created just for foreigners. And we were considered as foreigners, so we had to leave. So I arrived in France, in Toulouse, when I was 22 days old.
Wow.
So very young. Even though I was born there in Morocco, which is very important for me, I had all my life in France.
It's very interesting because as we were joking around at the beginning of the interview, you shared that your other languages, well, you have French, you have English and Arabic.
Yes, Arabic. We could say that is not really my mother tongue, but I was used to live with people that were always talking in Arabic in the house. So I quite understand everything, but it's not the classic Arabic. It's the Arabic from Morocco, which is something very special that is include a lot of words that are coming from Spain because we have Sephardic roots, and also coming from Hebrew. So it's a mix. So I understand Arabic, which is very interesting, by the way, because it means that I understand the mindset of people that are coming from this part of the world.
Yeah, I'm wondering if you can say more about that. As someone who's from the North American diaspora, we tend to forget that there is this whole part of the diaspora that stems originally from North Africa, from Spain, from Portugal, Turkey, all of these things. And in the narrative since the war started about how we are white colonizers, remembering that there is a diaspora from Morocco, Tunisia, Libya, Algeria, etc., is an important part of the conversation. So what do you feel that you understand perhaps better than somebody who isn't from that part of the world or doesn't have some kind of facility in Arabic?
It's very important. First, because the Sephardic world is the minority in the Jewish people. We should be the majority, but we are the minority because of the history. As we had to leave from Spain in the 16th century, the Inquisition.
Mm-hmm.
So most of the Jews that lived in Spain went to the north and to the east of Europe. So for this reason, most of the Jewish community at the time have what we say Ashkenazi roots, but it's not real. Not all of them, but they are coming from European countries. So it's make a very specific experience for the people that come from the Arab world, because we know the language, we have the same culture, more or less. And when we are talking about Jews being colonizers, we were the victim of colonization all the time. The nations that conquered and colonized the land of Israel have no connection with the Arab world. And from where we came, Morocco, Algeria, we experienced the colonization of the Arabs because we were there before the Arabs arrived around the 7th century. And we were there just after the destruction of the first temple, by the way. the communities that were living in Africa or in the East, it was well before the colonization of all those regions by Arabs and Muslims. So we know what's mean colonization, and we are not colonizers. We are the people that have been colonized.
So you reflect something that I think is true for many Jews, which is that we are from everywhere. We belong nowhere except for Israel, I would say. That's my personal perspective.
Mhm.
Is there something about having to have immigrated at the age of 22 days old and then being in Toulouse, which we can talk about soon, what's going on in that community, now being in Paris? Is there something about this history, even of your own personal migration, that makes you very committed to staying in France?
I'm French. Even though my family were living in Morocco, my grandfather was born in Algeria. That's why we are French. In the 19th century, when French arrived in Algeria, the Minister of Justice of the French government at the time was a Jew, Adolphe Crémieux. And Adolphe Crémieux wanted to give the French citizenship to all the Jews that were living in Algeria because they were considered as non-equal citizens by the Arabs with whom we were living at the time. So we became French, and we owe a lot to France. Our culture is the French culture, and we were lucky to be integrated to the nation as equal citizens. But I remember that I had to leave the place where I was born. My children had to leave also the place where they were born in France. And now they are all living in Israel. They made Aliyah. And all my grandchildren were born in Israel. So it's very interesting to see that my grandfather came from not the same country than me. My father was born in Morocco. I was born in Morocco. My children were born in France, in Toulouse. And my grandchildren now are born in Israel, and everyone is living in Israel. So it's the kind of the story of the Jewish people.
Just across 3 or 4 generations.
Yes. In 4 generations, you have 4 different places. And now I consider that with my grandchildren that were born in Israel, it's like we are back home. It took us 2,000 years to go back home. So I think it's something that I'm very sensitive to. Even though we are very grateful to France. And we are French citizens. We are part of also of these people, of this culture. But definitely our place is in Israel.
Let's talk about October 7th for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
What was that day like for you? Where were you? What do you remember about it? And what were your immediate reactions to it?
The fact is that I'm very sensitive to this question because what we experienced the 7th of October and the days after, it's something that we will never forget. I could say it was like a Shoah in our time, something that we could not imagine. The 7th of October, I was in Israel with my family because it was the end of Sukkot and the day of Simchat Torah. And I was in Tel Aviv with my family. And I woke up in the morning, the 7th of October, with the bombing of the Hamas to Israel. And it was something that I will never forget. At the moment, 6:25 exactly, when we woke up with the noise of the bombs, we didn't understand what was going on. I said, okay, it's as usual. The Hamas is firing us with missiles and rockets. But fine, we will solve the problem as we are used to. And I went to the synagogue, didn't touch my phone because I'm keeping Shabbat and the holidays. So I had no clues about what was going on. So I went to the synagogue as always. It was the morning of Simchat Torah. And when I arrived at the synagogue, 8:30 or something like that, I saw the people outside of the synagogue, some young people with kippah, talit, the pious and everything with phones. So something not good is going on
Very
here.
wrong,
So when I
yeah.
arrived, they explained me that it was very serious. They were talking about already after just 2 or 3 hours, after with hundreds of people that were killed and dozens and 100 people that were kidnapped. I say it's crazy. I was not able to believe them. That's where I was the 7th of October. And the day after, the 8th of October, I took the plane back to France to join my combat unit. And my combat unit is here in France to fight against the enemies of Israel. because we understood that the battle will be all over the world, not just in Israel and in Gaza. So I had to go back to France, and then we organized something that was very important at this time. The first delegation that went to Israel with policymakers, with a former prime minister of France, with very influential people that decided to come to Israel in the first week. And we took the first delegation to Israel. We arrived there the 15th of October, a few days after, and we were on the ground, what still was the battlefield in the south of Israel, in the kibbutzim. So we were able to witness everything and to be able to make some testimony when we will be back to France and to speak to other policymakers. And from that, we organized 35 delegations with Elnet, going from different countries in Europe and European Parliament and everything to Israel, to have people that will see firsthand what's going on there. Israel is fighting on 7 fronts, and we are also doing our part of the job on 3 other fronts. Fighting against international community that is trying to condemn Israel all the time, having the combat on the level of the lawfare against all the accusation of Israel, International Court of Justice, the criminal court that is also using all the means to try to condemn Israel for genocide, crime against humanity, war crime, things that are very terrible. And also to make the battle for truth in the media, in the social network. It's a battle of narrative, and we have to fight back against the enemies of Israel that we saw after the 7th of October. So that's what we are doing since then. So for us also it's a time of war.
One thing that I've become very aware of since the war started is there are not a lot of Jews. There are not a lot of Jews in this world, and there aren't a lot of people who represent our narrative, our experience. Did you feel that when the war started, that you were more alone than you thought?
No, I always said to everyone that there is a big misunderstanding about what's really going on. Look at the polls. 75% average of the population in France, in Europe, in America, let's say in the civilized world, are supporting Israel. We are not alone, definitively not. The supporters of Israel are in numbers more important than the supporters of the Hamas. Look at the last poll that we had in America that said 1 on 5 Americans are supporting the Hamas. But it's not like that. 4 in 5 Americans are supporting Israel. Why making us weaker than what we are?
Well, I think a lot of the concern is that if you were to parse out that 75%, that 80% by age, right, is Israel losing?
Also by age. It's the same number for the population, for the youngest people from 18 to 24. You have the same numbers. But some people like to say, we are alone, we are the victim. No, we are not. We were attacked. We had a lot of casualties, a lot of people that were assassinated. It's a terrible massacre. But we are not alone. All the world is standing up with us. But we have a problem, not with the population, not with the public opinion. We have a problem with the leaders. And not the leaders in the parliament, because in France, we have the experience. 75-80% of the parliament is supporting Israel against hatred against the Jews, against the Hamas, against disinformation and everything. But our enemies are very vocal, very brutal, and they are using means that are shocking the people in the universities, in the street. It's about terror. They try to bring the terror in the streets, so the people are afraid. So they are less vocal. But when you ask them, what is your feeling? They tell the truth. And it's very different than what we experienced in 2014, when we have the previous war with the Hamas. At this time, in 2014, everybody, let's say, okay, we are fed up with the Israelis and the Palestinian conflict. It's not our problem. And if we could say something, the Israelis are the bad one. It was in 2014, 10 years ago. But why everything changed? Because since then, in 2015, we had the big terrorist attack here in France and elsewhere in Europe. And the people understood, and still understand, that we, the Jews, we, the Israelis, have exactly the same enemy. The people that want to destroy Israel want to destroy our democracy. want to destroy France, Germany, Spain, UK. Everybody is looking at the situation and say, oh, but the people that tried to genocide the Jews, that perpetrated the massacre the 7th of October, we have them in our streets. So they will do the same here. So they feel concerned by the situation. In 2015, and we were 10 years after, we had this period of terrorist attack against Charlie, against Hypercacher, against Bataclan. And then we had in Nice, hundreds of people were killed here in France. Hundreds of people. It's not just about the Jews. And the people are not stupid. They understand that very well.
2015 was a big year in
Yeah.
France. Can you tell us about some of the events that you're mentioning? Hebdo.
Charlie Hebdo, it was the 7th of January with the attack against the redaction of Charlie Hebdo. And they killed everyone, quite everyone.
And the issue was that they had drawn a satirical image of the Prophet Muhammad.
Yes.
And there was...
So we are in France.
Right.
We have the right to portray everyone and the prophet and the Pope and Moshe Rabbeinu if they want and
Exactly.
everyone. But clearly the Islamists wants to destroy the very value of our society, freedom for everyone. So clearly we are facing existential threat against our population and against our civilization. It appears to everyone clearly. Not in 2012 when we had the terrorist attack in Toulouse against the Jewish school. And I was in Toulouse at the time. People didn't want to hear about this situation. They were sending back to back the people that were killed and the terrorists that killed them. So they didn't understand what was going on. It was against the Jews, so fine. If it's against the Jews, it's not against us.
Mm-hmm.
But when it's happened to Charlie, it's so important for the French people, the French culture. When it's happened to the Bataclan, not journalists that were drawing something about the Prophet, not Jews that killed the people in Gaza, just people, French people, young people that were having fun, dancing, drinking. It was a kind of temple of the French way of life.
Mm-hmm.
So they came inside and they killed everyone.
Hundreds of people.
Hundreds of people.
Wow.
The other one was in 2016. It was in Nice during the 14th of July, the National Day. And it was on the Promenade des Anglais, the promenade near the sea. And they had a firework and somebody took a truck, enter among the people. And it was the terrible car ramming against everyone. And there also hundreds of people wounded. And again, it's Islamism. People that want to destroy our way of life, our culture, our civilization, and they want to take the control of our country. It's not a lone wolf as we were told at the time. Oh, no, don't worry, just lone wolf. No, not lone wolf.
You're making a distinction between Islamists and Muslims.
For sure.
Can you tell me about that distinction?
You can have Muslims that are very moderate and could say modern people that want peace, that don't want to kill, don't want to make the jihad, that don't want to persecute the others. We have a lot of Muslims that don't belong to this radical system. But the fact is that we don't know exactly what is the percentage, the average of the radicals. Those people that consider Islam not like a religion, but like a system that has to rule everything, to take the control of your life, and to create a kind of caliphate that will rule by the Sharia. And those people are fighting against our values, our system, our democracy, our freedom, our secularism in France. This is something that is very special that we have. Clearly, we can find a way to live together with Muslims that want to accept our rules. When the Chinese are coming to France, they have Chinese rules, but they fulfill all the obligation that they have as French citizens if they are French citizens. And by the way, that's exactly what's in the Talmud we learn. Dina de Malchuta Dina. The law of the place is the law. If you live in France, you have to follow the French rules. If you are living in America, the same with America. Or in UK, same with UK. So for the Jews, it was not a problem. But with the Muslims, it's not the same. So we had to tell to the Muslim, if you want to live in France, to be equal citizen with all the population, you have to follow the French rules. That's what secularism is about. If you want to be Muslim, you have to do it, but it's for you, not to impose your way of thinking to the country. You have to follow the rules of the Republic. The secularism is organizing for all the believers to be free. You can worship your religion in the way you want, but you can't impose your system to the others. That's it. We are talking about freedom for everyone. So clearly it's the difference between Muslims and radical Islam and Islamism and jihadism and those that would like to use violence. And if someone had the doubt about this situation after the 7th of October, everybody understands.
So that's what I was going to say, is clearly you've thought a lot about this way before the 7th of October, certainly after, and yet you were still shocked.
We are fully aware about what is Islamism and what they would like to do. But we always thought that they will not have the means to do it. We always said, if you give to the Arabs the capability to destroy and to annihilate all the Jews, they will do it. They will kill everyone. We didn't have any doubt about that. But we were so convinced that they will never have the power to do that, never the opportunity to do that. We were wrong. And that was the shock. We knew that those people were always telling the truth. We want to kill you all. We want to rape your wife, kill your babies. They are monsters. And what they did the 7th of October is exactly what the Nazis were doing during the war. But they did it in one small place, in one day. They burned the people, they raped the woman, they killed the children, assassinated family, they took a hostage. Wow. In a few hours. We knew that they were willing to do that. But we were sure that it will never be possible because of Israel, because of Tzahal, because everything that we are relying on.
Tzahal, for those who don't know, is the IDF.
The IDF, yes.
I was told that the school shooting in Toulouse had a really big impact on you.
Sure.
First, I'd like you to tell us what happened. And second, share some reflections on how that was different or not different than the feelings you had on and after October 7th.
Yes, everybody remember where he was on 9/11. If you ask someone, he will tell you, I was here, there. Jews of Toulouse, everybody remember where he was and what he did. The 19th of March, 2012, at 8 o'clock in the morning, at the moment where we are bringing the children to the school. I was the president of the Jewish community in Toulouse, so in charge of, unfortunately, also the security of the community, which was not something so easy to organize because with no means, it's always more difficult. Then we don't have an army. We have a small service of security, whatever. But we knew that something like that could happen. But you can't imagine that it will happen. It was something that was impossible. But the fact is that happened. So I remember everything. It was the school of my children. And it's the place where I'm going to the synagogue, because in this school there is also a synagogue for the area. And I'm living in this area also. So this is my place.
And what happened at 8 in the morning?
At 8 o'clock in the morning, the terrorist came and he made the first tour to see if it's possible to do something. And I would like to say that just before that, few days before, we didn't know who he was, but he killed soldiers in Toulouse and in another small country, a small place near Toulouse that's called Montauban. He killed French soldiers in uniform because some of them were Muslims or were looking like Muslim or had Muslim names. And he came to kill them because for him, they were traitors against Islam because they were serving another country. So he killed the soldiers. And then on Monday morning, he was looking for something else to do, but he had the idea to come to this school. He made a first tour to see what's going on. And then he came.
He was not caught after he killed the soldiers. They did not catch him.
No, they were investigation. The first time he killed the 11th of March and then 15th of March and then 19th of March. 4 days every time. The attack against the school, he killed one father and his two children that was with him, waiting for the bus to bring them to the kindergarten. And he was going inside the school to kill everyone in the synagogue. and he killed a young girl that was the daughter of the director of the school. She was 8 years old with a bullet in the head, and he was doing like the people in Gaza with a GoPro camera on him. So everything was recorded to be broadcast. By the way, after. Because it's not just about killing the people, but it's also inspiring and terrorizing everyone all over the world. So this is what's happened, and from that it was the biggest trauma that we could imagine. Also, the Nazis didn't do that. They were coming to the school, taking the people, and kill them elsewhere.
Somewhere else, yes.
Somewhere else. But coming in the school, killing the people, the young people. And in the school at the time where he arrived, we had 200 children there. All the children were witnessing the attack. It was a massacre. And they will never forget. And by the way, just after that, everybody was thinking about leaving the place and going to Israel. And most of the young people did that. They made Aliyah. Many families made Aliyah.
Specifically from Toulouse.
Yeah, specifically from Toulouse. We always were a very important and strong community. It was still strong, but look, the people left the place. And when you go to Tel Aviv, to Netanya, to Herzliya, to Ra'anana, and you will see the people from Toulouse living there. And you will see young people. Most of them made Aliyah. Others went to Paris, other places in France or in the UK or America, Australia, whatever.
And what was your reaction? Is this when you moved with your family?
All my children moved to Israel. I also made Aliyah. It was a little bit later. People say, we're going to leave France because there is nothing to do here. It's over. It's failed. I say, okay, you want to leave France to live in Israel or elsewhere? You're right. It's your right. But is the situation will change because you will leave? Do you think that you could live in America or in Israel not fighting this threat that is a global threat? We have to defeat our enemies wherever they are. And if we don't fight them back here in Europe, they will be stronger there. It's a global threat and a global fight, and we have to be united, all of us. You have the right to go to Israel. And by the way, I made my diary, all my children living there. But also when you are there, you will have to fight the same enemy. And if you stay in France, you have to fight the same enemy, because when you fight them in France, you also serve the interests of Israel and the Jewish people and serve the interests of the free world. And we belong to the free world.
Very clearly, this is a passion for you. I do want to highlight that at one point you went to dental school and became a dentist.
To please my mother.
To please your mother. Okay.
Yeah.
That was not your calling. I assume that was not fulfilling for you on the same level?
You know what? I was born, like all the Jewish children, to be a doctor. It's like that. You have to make a work that you can have everywhere in the world. Being a physician, being a dentist, being a surgeon, it's international language. So my brother is a physician. I make my study to be physician, but I negotiate with my mother and my father, say, well, perhaps I could just do surgeon dentally. It will be shorter for my study. My sister married a plastic surgeon. My brother has 2 children. Both of them are physicians. And
okay, so you have a little room since everyone else is doing it.
Exactly. So I was educated to be a physician, but very quickly I turned myself to activism. I was in the Jewish Scouts and the Union of Jewish Students, involved in the communities, in international organization. My name is Arie, so I don't have any choice. When I was born in 1962 in Morocco, it was the time of the movie and the book Exodus. Paul Newman in the movie is the captain that is conducting the people working for the Mossad and took the Jews with the boat Exodus to Israel. And his name was Arie Ben-Canaan. So Arie was very famous at the time. So my mother and my father called me Arie. When I understood why I was named Arie, I said, okay, I understand that. My name is my feuille de route. So I know what to do.
Like your purpose,
Yeah.
Did you stop dentistry around the same time that the Toulouse shooting?
No, well before.
Well before.
I presented my graduation and all I had to do. And then I wanted to save all my time for what is the passion of my life, fighting for the Jewish people in Israel.
You've been doing it a long time.
Yeah.
How has your life, personally and professionally, changed since October 7th?
Oh, everything's changed. So, no, I'm not living anymore in the same world. By the way, for me, everything changed 2012 after the terrorist attack. I understood what was going on. And since then, I was fighting against Islamism and to try to wake up the people and to explain it will happen to you. And that's exactly what's happened in 2015. I was not surprised, by the way. I said, okay.
2015, the Hebdo shooting, and several other terrorist
I said,
attacks.
no, I was fighting during all those years to explain to everyone what's going on. Like the prophet that go everywhere said, it will happen. Nobody believe you. And then it's happened. And everybody understand what you were telling before.
So why are you in a different world now? It sounds like you're
7th
always...
of October is a disaster. Eclipse of humanity. Something that should not happen, but it's happened. We are the people of the memory, or the people of Zachor. This idea that we are untouchable, we are not. And we have to be strong and to be united and to be cautious about everything. And we, the Jews, don't have this luxury to say, oh, story is over. It's never over for us. But clearly, after the 7th of October, we didn't have 1 minute to breathe. And we will not. Is part of the problem that we have to deal with. But we still have to fight. All these institutions at the international level are against Israel. The majority of the countries are failed countries, dictatorship, Islamist country, whatever you want, not democracy, and they are against Israel. And this is the level of the battle that we have to fight. And we have to use and to mobilize all our friends all over the world, in America, in Europe. I would say it's time of the war of Gog and Magog, like it's written in the Bible.
Tell us, because not everyone listening will know.
The prophet says, at the end of the days, the last battle will be the battle for Jerusalem, and it will be the battle of Gog and Magog. So what is Gog and Magog? We don't understand. But now we understand that Gog and Magog is the coalition of all the powers in the international bodies, in the international community. It's the UN. UN is a monster. It's a failed system. It's a corrupt system. The Human Rights Committee in Geneva, most of the countries don't respect the human right. For them, it's nothing. It doesn't exist. It's not sustainable. What's happened in America, by the way? Trump was elected 8 years ago. Then he failed, and everybody said, okay, it was just an accident. And then we had another administration that were very more compliant with the wokist, the ideology and everything. And then they lost the election. And Trump is back and stronger than what he was 8 years ago. And we see that there will be a big confrontations. And we understand that the UN is a problem. Look at what happened on the 7th of October. All the UN institutions are corrupt. They are not working for peace. They are not working for human rights. We are far from the end of the story.
I want to give you two bookends. Okay. The first bookend is that yesterday we were acknowledging, commemorating the 80th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz. And we're also now talking about a ceasefire and the end of this war in Israel. It sounds like one of the ways that you woke up, for lack of a better term, after October 7th is maybe your Zachor, your memory had gotten a little too. All of us had gotten a little arrogant. What do you think about this? We're sort of between Auschwitz and this idea that, oh, maybe the war is going to be over and we can go back to how it was. What is the role of memory for us right now?
Look, the role of memory is central. We invented the concept of Zachor. Never forget what's happened to you. Everybody's talking about anti-Semitism. It's no more anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism was a hatred against the Jews in the European society to expel the Jews from the society. The anti-Semites were telling to the Jews, go back home in Palestine. Today, those that hate the Jews say, go back home to Europe, not to Palestine, because they want Middle East rid of the Jews. We are not taking the lessons from history.
And that's what we need to be doing.
They say never again. But never again what? Never again, not only the war, but what is creating the war, hatred, but hatred also against the Jews. But the first thing that they did just after the Second World War, after the Shoah, is to be against the state of Israel. It's not just hatred against those that are hating us, that want to destroy us, want also at the same time to destroy all the civilized world, all the freedom countries, all the democracy. Stop talking about anti-Semitism, because when you speak about anti-Semitism, you send the message that it's just
It's
against
just
the
about
Jews.
us.
But
Yeah.
it's not about us. So we have to change the way we speak. Before combating the enemies, you have to name it.
And
Who is
define
it?
the problem.
And define
Right.
the problem. The problem is Islamism. Islamism is an ideology that don't like the journalists, the freedom of speech, the Jews, the women, the gays, the liberty, everything that your model of existence, they don't like it. They want to destroy you. This ideology is a totalitarianism.
Let me ask you something. We are sitting in your office, and over here there are several posters on the ground. I don't know what they say. Can you tell us what they say and how to translate them?
After the 7th of October, we created a committee of citizens, Jews, non-Jews, Muslim, everyone that understood that what is at stake is not just the Middle East, not Israel. It's about our way of life.
Well, read us the rest of the poster.
Act together for republic, against terrorism, Islamist and terrorism, for the defense of democracy in the world, and say the 7th of October, we had a flip in the world. The world changed because we were participating and organizing many demonstrations, and it's some of the...
They look very different than the signs that are similar in the United States.
Yeah.
It's not end Jew hatred, end anti-Semitism. This gets to the point you're making. This is naming, this is a little more precise.
You know what? The people are mistaken. It's not about the hatred against the Jews. It's, okay, we are, as Jews, we are always suffering. When everybody is under attack, and you come and say, stop Jew hatred, people say, oh, and what about me? I don't exist?
I mean, listen, we are at a point in time where the Assad regime has now fallen, and we're much more aware of the violence, the brutality against other Muslims. And it's not, you're right, it's not just anti-Semitism.
The Islamic State was not against the Jews, not only.
Not
For
only.
sure, they didn't like the Jews, but they were not attacking us, by the way. Most of the people that were attacked were non-Jews. Muslims. The first victim are the Muslims. Christian. The persecution of the Christian, burning the people, destroying the church. It's not small, kidnapping people.
These are not small things.
Not small things.
One of my favorite thinkers, somebody who's been writing a lot since the start of the war, is with the Times of Israel. His name is Chaviv Rettig Gur. And when he's interviewed about many of these issues, he says that people who don't support Israel fail to understand that 95% of the time, if your family did not wind up speaking English or Hebrew, you were wiped out. That's the story of the 20th century. Most of the time, right? You either went to America or England, or you went to Israel and survived, or your family line is gone.
Yeah.
Is it important to you that there is a French-speaking Jewish community?
Oh, for sure. I think it's very important. France is a very special place. And, you know, Shimon Peres was used to say the link between France and Israel is so strong because both people have this capability to change the world. And we have also this love story just after the war, till 1967, after we had the embargo and the Six-Day War and everything. We owe a lot to France. Without France, perhaps Israel would never exist.
Not in the same way.
Not the same way. So we have a very strong story between France and Israel. You have to see it in the long run. We don't forget the bad things that France did, the French people did, but we will not forget also what they did well. It's the only country in the occupied territories in Europe during the Second World War where 2/3 of the Jewish community was saved by the just among the nations. 2/3. It's not nothing. And after the Second World War, we have to praise the action of France that supported Israel well before the Americans. The Americans came after.
So I'm going to say that it's important that there are French-speaking Jews and Jews who speak many languages, particularly because it helps with the issue of Zachor.
Yes.
Thank you. I hadn't thought about that. Arie, this has been wonderful. I really appreciate your time, and we were late, and you gave us all the time that we needed. So thank you so much. Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please rate, review, and subscribe to What Came After wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find us online at whatcameafter.com.
Oh, ילדי, אני שר חי בשדות החיים הסבוכים, מה תישא בלבך העזוב, מה הותירו בך זיכרונות חלולים. אוי, התמימות נכחדה עם הזמן, נקברה בחולות השותקים. אוי, ילדי מחמדי הנשאר אחריי, קח אותי בך למרחקים, ובכל שאיפה מן הרוח, בכל שיר העולה מגרונך, יחכה שם ניגון געגוע שחצבתי רק בשבילך. במדבר הבודד השרוע, בתפילה הצרובה בדמך, עוד תמצא את הדרך לנוע בין עולמות בעצמך. או ילדי הנשאר אחריי, סלח לי כי נדרשתי ללכת, תאחוז בחוכמת שורשיי, כשהנפש תקפה בשלכת, ובכל שאיפה מן הרוח, בכל שיר העולה מגרונך, יחכה שם ניגון געגוע שחצבתי רק בשבילך. במדבר הבודד השרוע, בתפילה הצרובה בדמך, עוד תמצא את הדרך לנוע בין עולמות בעצמך. תאמין שאפשר עוד לפתוח במחוב השנים בלבך טרוף, עוד תדע אהבה ומנוח.